Severe panic, just when you thought it was safe to go back into the greenhouse. Welcome to I Be Suffer.
They could have done better.
There's a bunch of them, but
That one's not very good.
yeah. Uh,
The theme song still remains the same. The plot itself has hardly changed. A guaranteed bet for fortune and fame.
Who was taking out that garbage?
It seems he wasn't killed at all. He fought tomatoes to a star. His TV show premieres this fall.
We have no Viking showguns, no flying spaceships or explosions.
No James Bond cars or Top Gun jets or real expensive fancy sets, but a deal we've cut for bid cassettes.
We made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Sit back as now the show starts. Part two of only two parts.
But if this film does well, you see, we're sure you know predictably it won't be long.
Until part three.
this is episode 98 of I Be Suffer. My name is Nathan,
I'm Kit.
I'm Katie.
and this week we are talking about 1988's Return of the Killer Tomatoes, and a little bit of Katie watching Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which I apologize to her for.
We should have started out by our names being our favorite vegetable.
Romesco.
Ooh, that's a
Romesco.
good pick.
My name is Green Bean.
You look like a green bean too. Man. I know I said it. I don't
I was
know.
gonna say, I like that
I'm-
you said it, then have no idea.
I might pick cucumbers, honestly.
Gross.
They're so diverse.
And that they can be two things.
They can be a lot of things, and they turn into pickles.
Yeah, I feel like broccoli romesco is probably my favorite. Maybe broccolini.
Ooh, I like broccoli rabe too. I like pretty much all vegetables though, to be honest.
Yeah, I like most of them.
Maybe I'd pick Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts are
Ugh,
real good.
nope.
Get
What?
out.
I'm out.
They're the best.
No, that is demonstrably false.
Oh, they're
What?
so good. Roasted Brussels sprouts.
Ugh.
We literally eat those like every single day almost. I'm trying to think of a vegetable I don't like.
Fried okra is tight.
I
Onion on
love
fried okra.
okra.
I like
Yeah,
okra in Indian food.
Hell yeah.
100%.
I mean, I'm not like super into onions. I could tolerate them, but like usually prefer not to. I guess like only in like certain things. I'm like, yeah, I'll keep the onions in.
I like onions. I like all
You
onions.
never just eaten a onion raw like an apple.
Like an apple? Of course.
Only,
Every morning.
only when I have
Keeps
to
you
go to the
regular.
dentist.
Yeah.
Could you imagine like showing up after eating like well, obviously I don't like garlic because I am allergic to it, but could you imagine just like eating a whole like clove of garlic and then going to the dentist?
I can. I've eaten a whole, not gone to the dentist, but I've eaten a whole clove of garlic before, and it sucks.
Gross. Anyways,
This is vegetable talk.
I hope you vegetables.
Uh,
Okay, so Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yeah, so hold on. So, yeah, I guess just tell us what you thought about Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and then we'll get into Return.
Well, if you guys, okay, so you guys already did Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and it was like episode 9. So
Oh my god,
it,
that was so
it was
early.
it was way back yonder. But everyone can go listen to that if they want, obviously. And this was my first time watching it, actually, and I mostly really liked it, actually. Um, I thought it was, whew, really, really off color jokes aside, there were some pretty offensive jokes in it. But aside from that, I thought it was really funny. And I feel like I haven't seen any movies from that time that were like intentionally funny, that were actually funny and not just like hokey, if that makes sense. So, I felt like it was a little long for me based off of like the premise of the movie, but I thought it was really funny. I liked
Did
it.
did you add Puberty Love to your playlists?
I did, yes.
Jam.
The
Jam and a half.
the idea that like, oh my, so I took like very few notes. I just watched it just like, normal
Yeah.
people watch the movie. Obviously you guys know I love a theme song written for a movie, and this one had a really good one. And the whole opening in general was like pretty funny. This probably had some of the best like subtitles
Tomatoes.
of
Oh.
any movie.
Oh no,
Tomatoes.
you gotta watch. We'll do it like as like a catch up episode at some point. But where Skeeto Nazi Hunter, they put jokes inside the.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty great.
That sounds hilarious. So, but it had really funny subtitles, so I enjoyed that because like for people who haven't seen it, obviously Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is about people being attacked by tomatoes that are killing them in some way that I still am not really sure like how they're actually killing them, but they're like for the most of the movie, it's like a legit actual tomato from the grocery store. It's like later on they're like bigger and they're like paper mache or whatever, but it's like mostly just a regular tomato. But the tomatoes make like hilarious noises. They're like I don't know. They're just like very funny.
That's a
Um,
pretty normal tomato sound.
Yeah, that's
yeah. We don't eat a lot of tomatoes, so I guess I just never. You know what's really good? Maybe I would want to be fried green tomatoes. But if it's
Those are pretty
tomatoes are technically a fruit though, so
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Whoops. Scratch that. Favorite fruit, watermelon. So yeah, I thought it was really funny. I thought all like the jokes were executed really well. Like some of my favorite parts, aside, like I said, from the offensive jokes, is like whenever they go into the quote unquote war room, and it's like literally a room that's the size of like the desk and chairs in there, and the guys have to like crawl over them and stuff, like doing their briefing or whatever. So it was really funny. And then yeah, Puberty Love, like so
sang by one of the dudes from Soundgarden and Pearl Jam when he was a teenager.
is it really?
Yeah, one of like the trivia things about that movie is like I forget who it was, but one of the guys who was in Pearl Jam and then I think Soundgarden for a bit is who like sings that song.
That's hilarious. So, spoiler alert for Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Basically, they find out that the way to destroy them is to play this song, and that makes them explode, essentially. And it's called Puberty Love, and it's just this guy singing in like falsetto, and he's just like, "The best love is puberty love," and it's just like the worst. The songs in these movies are like the best because they're so bad. And then oh, one of my favorite parts is like, so you sort of just like follow a few people, and like the parachute guy, who I think his name is Wilbur,
Yeah, I think so.
is like one of the main characters in Return of the Killer Tomatoes. So like in the first one, he's pretty much like the main hero, and he's like serving alongside all these other people. And there's this like one guy named Sam who's like the quote unquote master of disguise. And there's like this one scene where they send him in dressed as a tomato, and he's wearing like a tomato suit.
It's
And then
just like a red trash bag, basically.
yeah, with like leaves on his head, like a whole branch of leaves just like on top of his head. And he's like sitting around the campfire with like these huge tomatoes, just like, and for some reason he can understand what they're saying, and it's just so funny. And then the end of the movie was pretty funny because like after they start playing Puberty Love, like out loud, and all the tomatoes are like exploding and whatever, this like final tomato goes to attack like the leading lady of the movie, I guess. And the one guy like goes to save her and finds like the tomatoes just wearing like big earmuffs, so he shows him the sheet music of Puberty Love, and then I don't know, so it was pretty funny. Like aside from it being drawn out a little bit, I think there's a lot of stuff in the beginning of the movie that I felt like didn't really need to be there, but overall I thought it was really funny. And I would definitely watch it again.
It's definitely like probably the worst in the series, I think, because it's like only kind of tangentially tied to like the rest of them.
Yeah, the second Return of the Killer Tomatoes was like very different.
Yeah. And then like Strike Back and Eat France are basically like kind of follow the same sort of like theme and plot point kind of you know, like same format as Return.
Well, I was a little confused because like like I said, had never seen these movies before, but I did watch the cartoon show, and so
Yeah, that cartoon was so good.
yeah, so I was a little confused because like in the cartoon and then like later movies, they're like tomatoes, but kind of like gremlin tomatoes because they're like
yeah, that
personalities.
that comes in like Strike Back and Eat France, because I think of like the not popularity is like a wrong term for the cartoon, because I don't think it was super popular. It only had like the one season, but like I think that's where they got the idea of
To do it in the movie.
like the faces and stuff.
Yeah, so that was like a little confusing to me, but it was still funny that they were just like kind of like the simplicity of just like literally a tomato was pretty funny. So, yeah, I liked it.
All right. So I picked Return of the Killer Tomatoes. This was a movie that I remember seeing like a bunch on like in the 90s on like USA Up All Night, and like just playing like late at night on like TNT and shit. I've been like a fan of it since. What did you guys think of it?
This movie rules. That's my favorite of the tomato films.
Yeah, it's probably definitely like the best.
Thanks in no small part to George Clooney.
Yes.
Really going for it early on in his career.
I didn't know that he was in this, and I mean, obviously the credits roll before the movie starts, so I was like, "What the fuck, George Clooney?"
So I had to look it up because like a bunch
What's
of these
Bruce Wayne doing here?
a bunch of these movies like have that kind of sort of false advertisement to get people to like look at them or whatever. And a big thing was George Clooney being this like after he got like super popular. And I was under the assumption that it was his first like role, and then I thought it was his first like movie role, both of which aren't true. It's his first like starring movie role. Is
Oh,
how
so
they,
as like a
promote
as
it.
like a lead character.
Yeah, instead of just kind of like a background, or somebody just pops in for a minute.
He
Yeah,
was
'cause-
Ron and Grizzly too.
Yeah. I think that was his actual first movie.
I think so.
Oh,
no,
wow.
And They're Off was his first movie, whatever the fuck that is.
He is.
I don't know why I just assumed that he was like popular before the late 80s, or like and stuff, but I guess not everybody was.
He is killing it in this movie. Like, you could tell, like, watching this, of like what he would become as an actor. He's like super charming and funny, and it's just like nailing it.
You could tell like his character is like a pretty like nonchalant, like whatever kind of guy, and like you could tell that he was like for both of them. What's the other guy's name?
Anthony Stark.
You could tell that they were both just having like the most fun.
Yeah, he had a pretty has a pretty good career too. Like, he's in a lot of TV shows and shit, including playing Jimmy in Seinfeld.
Yes.
I was trying to place him the whole time, and I was like, "Oh, that's Jimmy."
Yeah.
All right, got it.
Yeah, he's done like a lot of stuff since this.
Yeah, he's been in like almost every TV show you can think of.
Yeah, and then even like John Astin, who plays like Professor Gangrene.
Oh yeah, my note when he showed up, I was like, Gomez Adams does experiments.
He's in Briscoe County Jr. That's all that matters. Yeah, so Katie, what did you think?
Oh, I liked it. I think I liked it better than the first one, but I do feel like this movie, like I do feel like you get a lot more out of it having seen the first one, even though there is like a scene where they like recap, but I think some of the jokes like
I think
land better with context, but as a standalone movie, I think it was like the plot was like a little crazier, like more complicated.
It's definitely a movie you can watch without seeing Attack, but like I feel like the three characters that like help at the end, like the parachute and the cowboy and the dude in like the fucking scuba outfit, like are funnier having seen Attack.
Yeah, because I agree. And I also really liked the soundtrack to this movie.
Oh, it's so good.
It's just like insanely like 80s action music, and it's hilarious. I really liked it.
It's very like it kind of feels very much, which I don't know if either of you've seen it, but it's very like Toxic Avenger 2 and 3, I think.
Yeah.
Like it has that same feel of like, I don't know, like neither Attack or Return are really horror movies per se, but like the second and third Toxic Avenger movies came off like the first one being like goofy but also pretty dark, and then like the 2 and 3 are essentially like comedies, and this feels like very much in the same vein as that. It, I think, came out around the same times. It has that like really kind of goofy 80s wannabe like action soundtrack to it.
Yeah, which is like my favorite.
Yes, it rules. I love like the Return. It's just like the same theme song, but they just changed it to Return instead of Attack.
My favorite. Okay, so this movie does a few things that have like how do I explain this? Like, I like when a meme has been around for so long that it changes context, but you understand it because you remember what the original meme is or whatever. And this movie does a lot of that. So I really liked it. And like one of the things that they did in the theme song to this one is, like you said, they did that, but then towards the end of it, they're like, this is it says something like this is part 1 of 2, but if you know anything about us, then you know there will be a part 3 or whatever. Because like at the very, very end of the first one, there was like they kind of teased that like carrots would be the next thing, but then it's like that's the end of the movie, right? And then now they have another one, but it's tomatoes again. So I don't know. It just was like really funny.
Yeah, there was like I think like a decade in between.
I think so.
Like I think Attack was like the 70s.
Yeah, I think it was late 70s or early 80s.
Yeah.
And then I think the other ones came out in sort of quick succession. I think like early 90s.
This was 88, and then I think the next one was 90, and the fourth one was 91.
Yeah, I feel like if I remember correctly, Strike Back and Eat France were like made
It's
at
90,
like the same
91
time,
and
basically.
92. Yeah. Wow. Killer Tomatoes Eat France looks very different.
It is.
You'll never go veg again.
I've only seen them both once, but they're both pretty funny and extra stupid.
Yeah, I need to see Strike Back.
I want to do them for the podcast, but I don't think they're on YouTube, and they are just like way out of print. I have them both on DVD that I found at like a flea market that I spent like way more than I want to admit to spending on them.
Well, you're the only person that can watch them now, so
Yeah.
that's okay.
I don't think they're on YouTube, but if they ever pop up, I definitely want to do them both.
Oh no, YouTube's been letting me down recently, to be honest, but
Well, YouTube's terrible. Is it because they got rid of Alex Jones? You're mad about it?
ew, no. I just haven't been able to find anything on there that I like want to watch for free. Illegally.
It's because there's been like YouTube's become like a big thing about like renting movies from, so a lot of studios that are putting their movies on there are like getting shit taken down.
Yeah.
It's pretty much
1980s Alligator is on there.
I was just
I
saying,
watched that
like,
on there the other day.
most of the stuff that you could watch for free on there still is stuff that's like way out of print and like just is not studios that give a shit, even though I feel like horror stuff you would think they'd be like see how much stuff sells from like Arrow and Scream Factory and shit and be like, oh, we should put this back out for money.
Yeah.
They should definitely put Alligator and Rumpelstiltskin back out so I can see for them.
Yeah, hard back on Rumpelstiltskin.
I'm fully on board with any Alligator movie.
I'm only on board if they're crocodiles.
Well,
you can watch Crocodile and Crocodile 2 Death Swamp on there.
yeah, there you
Okay.
go.
Death Swamp sounds just like the worst thing I've ever heard of.
Oh, it's real dumb. It rules.
Yes.
I had a Crocodile Day the other day.
A crocodile day.
I watched Crawl finally and it rules, so same.
That's like next on my list to watch.
Yeah, it's great.
They're so scary.
All right, Katie, tell us about this movie, because I have no notes, because I am stupid busy.
I thought
Quitting my job.
I thought you were gonna say something else, but okay. So basically, this is Return of the Killer Tomatoes, and it starts off with basically just like a fake, like, what do you want to call it?
like
It's just like
tomato.
a fake host,
Fake
a fake tomato. It's like a fake host saying that they're gonna air Return of the Killer Tomatoes as a movie for $1.
It's extremely meta,
Yeah.
especially for the 80s.
So the thing that I thought was funny about this like opening segment is he's kind of like basically they're gonna give away this jackpot of money to like one caller. They're gonna say like, hey, we're gonna give you a secret word. We call you, you give us a secret word, and we'll give you a jackpot. But when he's like spinning the thing that has the names in it to like pick out a caller's phone number or whatever, there's like 4 slips of paper in there. And the jackpot is $9.22. So you get the feeling that
Pretty
like,
good.
I'd take
nobody
it.
watches channel 22 or whatever this was. So basically they're like, yeah, let's watch. So then they start airing this movie, And
Well, did you the word that they have to say is
yeah, is the right. So
Word of the day.
the you said the word of the day.
Could you
Anyways,
imagine
so
that episode of like Pee Wee's Playhouse if it was the word of the day
no,
was the?
they would just be like, I mean, they already scream constantly, but it would just be like absolute hysteria on the set. So it starts out with this beach party. I wrote "Wow" this song because the song is basically like it's basically just like a guy singing about how it's summer and he's just like he wants to get his rocks off. Literally, he says that. So there's like all these girls like running around, and then basically they have accidentally started playing a movie called Big Breasted Girls Go to the Beach and Take Their Tops Off. And
Good movie.
A classic.
that's like essentially what the song is like. Okay, so it's like now they've also made up a fake movie and a fake theme song about a fake movie in the movie. So I am already was like on board with this movie. And so basically the hosts are like, hey, aren't we supposed to play like Return of the Killer Tomatoes? And the other guy's like, nah, I want to watch this one instead. And they're like, oh no, okay. Like, we'll really do this. So they switch it to actual Return of the Killer Tomatoes. And you get like a really quick scene of well, I said Gomez Adams does experiments. His name is Professor Gangrene, which I thought was pretty funny.
It's a
And he's
perfect name
just-
for a vegetable villain.
Yes, vegetable villain. He basically is just like doing experiments on tomatoes, and then this is when you get the opening theme song for Return of the Killer Tomatoes, which I assume there are so many songs. I don't know how you're gonna choose which one to put
Oh,
in
I'm
this
definitely
episode.
putting in the theme song.
For Big Breasted Girls Go to the Beach and Take Their
Yeah.
Tops Off.
I'm just gonna play the entire score under the entire episode,
Now that you know how to do
Perfect.
and then Cotton Eye Joe right in the middle.
that. No, I swear to God. So basically you find out that the guy I wrote Parachute Guy because I didn't know his name. Basically like one of the heroes from the first movie, and I already knew when we started watching this movie, I was like, me and Nathan are gonna have some beef because of what happens at this pizza shop. So basically, like Wilbur,
What are we gonna have beef about?
because I'm gonna start talking about the pizzas, and you're gonna be like, you would probably eat that
Oh.
pizza. So
They're
basically,
all heinous. They're all heinous.
they're
looking.
all
Yes.
bad. Well, okay, let's
So
just
they're
hold on.
they all look bad because it's not pizza sauce, I think.
Well, okay, like I don't.
One's like peanut butter and anchovies. Like that's objectively bad no matter what.
Yes, anchovies regardless is gonna be terrible.
I agree. Okay, so I wrote down all the pieces they made too. So first of all, basically, the parachute guy Wilbur has started. He's like looking at news clippings about how he's a hero. He has started a pizza place, and you come to find out that like it's like supposed to be. I thought they said 25 years after the Great Tomato War from the first one.
I don't remember that, but that's pretty funny.
Yeah, because that's why like so the main character Chad is his nephew, and Chad is like an adult in this movie, but he's like never actually seen a tomato before, he says, because it's been like 25 years or something. So basically it's like tomatoes are illegal, so you can no longer have pizza with tomato sauce. And I'm like, didn't they have like white sauce and pesto in 1988? Like
Yeah,
they could
that
have
was-
still had regular pizza.
That was invented
Wasn't
in
invented.
1989.
Oh, damn.
I thought it was
There's-
2007.
So basically, all of their pizzas are just like freaking gross because they put candy on it, but also regular pizza topping. So, like, the pizza that they're having in the beginning is peanut butter, anchovy, and gummy bears. Then there's like another one that has like marshmallows and chocolate chips and stuff, whatever.
Look, I'm
And-
fine with that if that had peanut butter.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, like, I guess they didn't have these everywhere, but Pizza Hut used to have like they used to have like restaurants that had buffets in them.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they served was dessert pizza, which I still love and I think is delicious. But I just don't know why they couldn't have normal dessert. I don't know if normal dessert pizza was like a thing at this point, because obviously I had the buffet in like the late 90s or whatever. But I'm like, if they could have just kept the weird like anchovies and mushrooms off of this pizza, it would have just been like a normal dessert pizza.
Yeah.
But so this is when you're introduced to Chad, and Chad is delivering a pizza to Dr. Gangrene's house, and the pizza that he delivers there is extra cheese, pepperoni, and boysenberry sauce. Which, I'm not gonna lie to you, I might try that one.
Wait, what was it again?
Pepperoni, extra cheese, boysenberry sauce.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, okay.
The strawberry jam one that pops up later on in the movie, the one that really...
That one's coconut, anchovies, and strawberry jam. The only reason I say that the other one might work is because, like, if you have a cheese plate, there is, like, meats and jams on it, and you eat it all together. So that's the only one I feel like...
You don't need to defend your weird pizza taste to us, Katie, okay?
Listen, I thought Nathan was the one that was going to come for me, not you.
I mean, I think anything that's going to have anchovies is going to be super gross, so...
No, I agree with you. I don't like anchovies. But, okay, so anyways...
the anchovies were the sauce?
No.
Like, they just blended up a bunch of anchovies and smeared the fish paste on it.
Oof.
We finally got fish out of our cookies. We don't need it on our pizzas. That being said, I am a hard stand for pineapple on pizzas.
Hard same.
And mango.
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever had mango, but I'd try that.
So there's
I'll
this...
do
You'll do mango?
corn.
Corn. I would do corn
Corn's
too.
fine too.
Yeah. We have this place by us that does pizza, but it's all like Indian, like traditional Indian dishes on pizza. So like tikka masala, all that stuff. And they have a
That
mango
sounds
one.
dope.
It's the best. The first time we had it was the first time I ever had cilantro on pizza, and I was like, how has this not happened?
God, I'm so hungry now.
I know, right?
Yeah, this is rude. It's a rude film.
I'm gonna pick a movie that's gonna gross us out so that I won't want to eat food after I watch it, because stuff reminded me of.
So next week we're covering Raw.
Romantic it is.
No. Okay, so Chad. I really hate that his name is Chad because I can't take that seriously. Chad delivers this pepperoni. Finletter, yeah. Deliver pepperoni, extra cheese, boysenberry sauce. Boysenberry, so freaking good. To the house, and Tara answers the door. She's just like this, beautiful, like, weird lady, because she just kind of, before you know what's going on with her, she just kind of acts sort of like robotish. Like, he's like trying to talk to her like a normal person, and she's just like very strange. So basically he's just like, hey, like, what do you do up here? Like, what's going on? Obviously he's got a crush on her, and she basically says like the professor is working on gene splicing, and then she also says that she cooks and cleans and is his lover, which is gross because their age difference is pretty drastic. And then, so like as he's like talking to her, there's all of these like huge like muscle men standing around just like doing different work, like one of their like gardening plants or whatever, and they all of a sudden like yell and start like smashing stuff, and Tara goes, they're gardeners and carpenters, are not tomato men. Like, okay. And he's just like, all right.
I mean, how would you react to that?
The same way he does. He just is sort of like, okay, bye, and like leaves. So back at the pizza shop, there's like kind of like a news program in the background going on about how people have been like smuggling in tomatoes, because like, as I said, tomatoes are illegal since, the tomato war.
25 years ago.
Yeah. And Wilbur, Chad, and George Clooney, whose name is Matt, talk about the professor and how tomatoes are illegal. This is where you get the coconut, anchovy, strawberry jam pizza. And then you get like a whole like flashbacks to the first movie. which is pretty funny because like the host from the beginning gets like a call from a fan and she's just like, why are you playing stuff from the first movie? I'm not an idiot. I want to watch this or whatever. Which is pretty funny. And then, you know, we basically find out that Dr. Gangrene has been creating people out of tomatoes. And I wrote Tamara. That should have been her tomato name. Tamara. Tara. I wrote Tamara. Oh my God. Tara is a tomato person. But then you find that out right now, right? I felt like
well,
it
you
was
don't,
at the end of the movie.
No, you don't find out really that she is until that like dinner scene or whatever when they're at that restaurant.
It's just pretty obvious.
It's pretty obvious.
Because like she's extremely like deadpan with her
Weird.
talking until she like leaves, and it's just weird.
Yeah, and you see him like create a Rambo.
Yeah.
A Ramado. We'll call him a Ramado. The tomato Rambos.
One of like the things on IMDb, one of like the not taglines, fuck, what's it called? Like the
spoof?
No, like the words that are like they put in for that, like.
Oh, the taglines?
No, just here, keep going. I'll look it up. I gotta.
Okay. Wait, this has a connection to Pee-wee's Playhouse somehow.
I don't know. I feel like Pee-wee's Playhouse would have talked about this movie of some sort.
Yeah, I can't find it on here because there's a lot. So then, okay, so then
so
the doctor's
one of the top plot keyword is reference to Rambo. Muscle man.
Wow.
Bodybuilder, running for one's life, saber.
That's what I meant when I said tagline.
Yeah.
I meant
Oof,
keyword.
Gas
Keyword.
chamber is not a good one.
No. San Diego, California.
Lights-
Talking to the audience.
Lights turned off. Oh shit.
Catsup.
Wearing ammo belt across chest.
I was gonna say that one, and then catsup. It's catsup.
The only
CATSUP.
The only movie for the the ammo belt one is this movie. Plant food
That's
stick.
just not true. Yeah.
Erlenmeyer flask.
The end question mark.
In
title
question
card.
mark title.
Film in film. These are pretty good.
Look up brushing teeth. Number one
Kind of
movie.
disappointing that Pepsi's so low after being plugged so heavily.
Oh man, that's my favorite thing of this movie is all the fucking stupid like Pepsi advertisements. Number one
Yes.
rated movie with brushing teeth, Zodiac.
Ooh.
And then Pulp Fiction. Number 5, Get Out. Number 6,
Wow.
Underwater. What We Do in the Shadows. I do not remember that.
I think it's whenever what's his face was like turning into a vampire, probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways. Okay, so then we get introduced to Igor, which is Captain Gangrene's assistant, and he like shouts Igor, which like I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Igor is, right?
Yeah,
like
I mean, I
as a
would hope
character. And so he comes in and he's just like this tall, like blonde, blue-eyed guy who for some reason thinks that he is like a news reporter and like really wants to be a news reporter.
It's his dream.
Huh?
It's
His dream. Yeah, I just don't know why. But so basically, yeah, so he has this botched experiment, which is just a fuzzy tomato, and he's wants Igor to go throw him in the trash. And they have this like back and forth about how Dr. Gangrene's like, you shouldn't look like that if you're my assistant, and like just kind of like commenting on how he doesn't look like an Igor, basically. So he throws the botched experiment in the trash, but then later that night, Tara saves it and names it FT for Fuzzy Tomato.
Hard stan of FT.
Yeah, because
Fact.
he is like literally a fuzzy stuffed animal tomato, and then he has like 2 little like leaf feet, and he is the best, and I love him.
Same.
So, and he like makes like little noises
Just like
too.
little squeaky noises.
Yeah, he's like a little sentient guy. So Tara basically like runs away and goes to the pizza shop where Chad is making a pizza that has raisinets, gummy bears, kiwi, and peanut butter on it. When they
I mean, minus the raisin. No, I guess the gummy bears would be weird too.
Gummy bears and kiwi.
I'm not like opposed to like. I feel like a like peanut butter as like the sauce for a dessert pizza isn't a bad idea. I think they're just throwing just the weird shit on top of it.
I think it wouldn't be if it wasn't like a pizza dough crust. If it was like like a cookie crust or something. But to me,
it depends. Like it just depends on how like what kind of pizza crust. Because there's a lot of times you could do like dessert stuff with a pizza crust. It's just if you're thinking like that like kind of like buttery like Pizza Hut type crust, then no. But
right,
you go to like Trader Joe's and just buy their like pizza dough and make something with it.
I guess also for me, I just am not really a fan of mixing candy and fruit. Like I want it to just be one or the other.
I think like the candy is what I'd be like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Imagine eating a raisinette on a pizza.
No, I don't really want to. Anyway, he's like really into making this like pizza. Like he thinks he's a pizza god, that it is like the best pizza ever made. And Tara like shows up and he's like, hey, and she immediately like asks if he wants to go pork.
Is this when she's like, just like, do you want a blowjob? I think that's what
she's
this
like,
is.
Well, she walks in, she goes, do you want to make love? And he's like, what? And he's like very shook. He like throws his soda on his face, and she just like keeps asking, and then he's like, no, like I don't like want to do that. Did you fall and hit your head or whatever? And then she says that. She was like, and then she's like, and I'll iron your jeans at the same time or something. And I was like, what the fuck?
Like,
and so basically,
I feel like that joke is supposed to be like a blowjob is something else when she says, and I'll iron your jeans too. But like, I'm not sure if that was maybe something I just don't know about from like the 80s.
I sort of took it as like, I mean, you find out that, well, I already said that we can figure out that she's a tomato person, and the doctor basically was just like, I created her to be the perfect woman, and like in those standards, a perfect woman just like does your beck and call and like does your cooking, does your cleaning, and that's just all she does. Like, so that's sort of how I took it, but I don't know.
Like, there's times that I feel like they're trying to like toe that line of like not being like raunchy, but like doing that kind of like 60s and 70s kind of comedy of like, what this actually means without us saying it.
Right. I don't know, like she's pretty graphic though.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. There's like certain times like that they say stuff that I feel like they were just kind of like stuck in between of how they wanted to make the jokes. Because there's a lot of stuff in Attack that's like that, where they like make I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. If anyone is from the early 80s and knows what that joke is, let us know, I guess. So Tara, Chad takes Tara like back to his apartment, and then the next morning Matt comes home and sees Tara in the shower, and there's like a bunch of talk between like him and Chad about like her being there,
It's
and
like
basically
he like walks in and you could blatantly see it's like a naked woman in the shower, and he just thinks
and he thinks it's
Chad. He's
Chad.
just like brushing his teeth and talking to him.
Yeah. So then basically she's like, "Oh, let me make breakfast." She basically says like she's gonna make breakfast, and then she wants to like help him make his business more profitable, which is like really funny. But she's like, "Oh, you want breakfast? Great. I'll make toast and eggs and bacon and toast and waffles and toast." She says toast a bunch of times. Like apparently she makes the best toast in the world, which is like so funny.
Yeah, I like the fucking the through line of her, like when they show her later, she's just got like 8 toasters and she's just baking a shit ton of toast.
I love and so like essentially Chad is like, I don't know, man, she's like sort of weird. He calls her a cloud jockey.
Yeah.
And Matt essentially is just like, nah, she's fine. So finally Dr. Gangrene like realizes that Tara's missing and gets Igor, who at this point is doing like a fake news broadcast with a teddy bear, tells him it's really funny because he's just like mass pile up, thousands are dead. Like I don't remember what he was saying, but then he's like talking to the teddy bear as if the teddy bear like witnessed it, and it's just like very funny. It tells Igor to go find her. So Igor takes his news van, which is actually a dump truck that he put a news van sign on.
KIGR.
And he leaves. He goes to a prison under the guise of like picking up trash, I guess. But so this is where I kind of like think I missed something. So he goes to like talk to somebody who's been thrown in jail, who is the the press secretary, the president from the first one.
I can't remember if it's the actual guy from the first one, but I think that's what it's supposed to be. Because he goes into the prison and has the sign that's like real criminals and then like white collar criminals or some shit. And like,
yeah, because then they're like playing golf and like drinking champagne and shit. Like, and basically Igor tells whoever this break out of jail on Thursday. So then you get a montage of Chad and Tara going on a date and being harassed by a mime for some reason.
There's just this weird, but I like when he finally fucking like punches him in the video store. It makes me laugh like every time.
Yeah, so they're like walking down the street, they go to the beach, then they go to a place called Adult World, and Tara's like like picking up all this stuff, and the mime's like, yeah, like making a kiss face at him or something, and then Chad finally like punches him out. It was pretty funny. And then the last place they go into is like a health food store, I guess, and this is where Tara buys like the plant food sticks, and she's like, these are yummy, and he's like, what?
She's
and she's like, for your plants.
Yeah, for plants.
Good cover.
And yeah, right. They basically like see the shop owner in the back like illegally buying tomatoes from some guy.
Black market tomato dealings in the back alley.
It's like so crazy to me that the guy sells him like 2 tomatoes, but then like later the entire back room of the shop is like all tomatoes.
I like when they're like, it's supposed to be like a Coke deal. It's where he like touches the tomato, and like right before he licks it, he sprinkles like some salt on it, and he's like, "Oh, good stuff."
He's like, "Allow me," and he's got a salt shaker on like a string under his jacket.
I used to work.
Ridiculous.
I used to work with this woman who would like sit on break and eat just like, one of those like containers of like cherry tomatoes, but would pour a pack of salt on each one and then complain that her tongue hurt. And I was like, what is wrong with you?
Gross. I will say I do like salt on watermelon.
I don't really care about watermelon that much, so.
Oh, it's so good.
I need the roasted watermelon.
I would definitely try that
too. I'm gonna try it next week.
It looks so gross.
Oh, I bet it's good though. Okay, so so they see the illegal tomato dealings, and Chad is basically just like, "Wow, this is terrible. Tomatoes are the worst. Tomatoes are the worst things ever." And Tara is like upset, and she's just like, "You suck," and like leaves or whatever. They get in a fight, but then immediately they are going to dinner, so I don't really know what's going on with that. And there's this waiter that comes up to them and like tells them the special, and it is the most like pretentious shit I've ever heard. It's essentially just like a whole turnip
Yeah, they
with
show like a
like
lady eating it and
shit
just
on it.
a full turnip with like some bean sprouts around it or something.
Right. But he like explains the dish for like 5 minutes, and Tara's like, "I don't eat vegetables. Like, do you have any meat?" And the waiter is like very sassy with her, and it's basically just like, "I guess you could have a chili dog." And she's like, "Okay, I'll have that." And he's just like, "You're trash."
And then offers her like
It's
a
pretty funny.
celery drink or some shit.
Yeah. Um, and so then Chad again is just like starts talking about how tomatoes are evil and the worst thing ever. Tara just like dumps her water on him, so he gets up to go to the bathroom, and then this like mariachi guy like comes up and starts playing some like music to her.
It's like a violin
And
player. He's not a mariachi guy.
yeah, okay, he's a violin player, but
It would rule if this fancy restaurant just had like a mariachi band walking around playing for people.
I thought his outfit reminded me of like the outfits that they wear.
Maybe.
But yeah, he does just have a violin. And anyways, the music turns Tara into a tomato, and everyone sees it and like screams and runs out, which like just the idea that tomatoes are like scary or whatever is like one thing, but then to like see a person turn into a tomato is pretty scary.
Well,
So
I
everyone
don't
like
think
screams and
anyone
runs
actually
out.
like sees her change. I think they just see the tomato.
That there's a tomato on a
Oh, yeah.
plate.
Scare me.
You like why like if they've been illegal for 25 years, who's growing them?
I mean, someone's gonna always supply illegal stuff, I feel like.
Yes, I don't know.
I'd
Yeah.
sell tomatoes. Sounds
Gives it-
lucrative.
Yeah. So Chad comes back to so she is only a tomato for like a couple seconds, then she turns back into a person. And because a clock chimes or something?
Yeah,
Something
it's
happens.
anytime any kind of music plays, she like just switches back and forth. So it's the music from like the cuckoo clock.
How did they walk around like downtown and the beach and stuff without any music playing?
There wasn't really music in the 80s.
Music
Yeah,
was
you're
also
right.
illegal.
Yeah.
You're
And they
right.
outlawed it with tomatoes.
So, yeah, he comes back right after she turns back into a person and is basically just like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Fire drill." But they leave, and Igor is there.
One
and
of my
basically,
favorite jokes is coming up.
me too. So basically, like, he follows them out. First, he gets distracted by this reporter that's interviewing this lady. And am I right to that they're the two from the original movie?
Oh, I don't remember.
So at the end of the like after the war ends in the first movie, this guy is like this reporter is interviewing this lady, and he's basically just like, "Oh, what happened? Your husband died? Oh man, that sucks." Like, and it's just like really blunt and saying like these really mean things to her, and she's like screaming and like upset and stuff. So I think either it was supposed to be a spoof on it or it was the real people.
I would
Because
I don't remember if there's any actual crossover with the first one other than the director. I'll look it up.
Okay. So, but basically he's like trying to report about what happened, and every time she answers, he like cuts her off, and she's basically just like, "I was here. Oh, it was terrible." And he's like, "I'm not asking about the menu. What happened in there?" And she's like trying to say that there was a tomato, but he's basically just like, "Why are you here by yourself? Like, why don't you have a date? Where's your husband? Oh, your husband's dead. It's been 25 years. You should have a new husband by now. And he's just like saying all this shit to her. And it's just like so funny. And so then Igor like gives like, so Chad goes up to the valet and is like, the red Corvette. And then Igor goes up to the valet and it's just like, the garbage truck. But then when the valet like brings the garbage truck, it's a different garbage truck, and Igor yells, "That's not mine!"
It's so dumb.
I don't know why, but it was like so funny. Both of these movies, like, I literally had me laughing out loud. Like, I don't know, it just was like so funny and like, just not expected that he was just gonna yell.
His reaction is like my favorite thing.
Yeah. Tara. Oh, I wrote Tara makes a bunch of toast, and meanwhile Matt is complaining to Chad about her living there because like she only wants to listen to the farm report and she won't let him listen to music on his stereo. This whole time Tara has had FT with her and he's been kind of just like hiding, and somehow Chad and Matt have not noticed that there's like a little sentient fuzzy tomato around. FT is like hanging out in the window and he falls out of it and essentially just gets bounced around town.
I want to know what happens in the sewer.
I don't know. And she like realizes he's gone and runs out. Matt and Chad like chasing, like trying to get him, and finally he is spotted and outed as a tomato essentially, and everyone's like screaming. There's like a mob of people. The group like finds and rescues him and they're chased and stuff. Matt thinks that FT is a red gerbil and Tara's like, no, it's a dog.
Yeah,
you know, it's fine. So suddenly the director of the movie like yells cut on the movie and is basically just like, cut, sell the babies. I don't remember what else he said, but he's just like, basically he says they ran out of money and they can't film any more of the movie. And Chad is basically just like, I turned down like a big role for this, like can't we like, you know, save any more money or anything like that? And he's like, I don't know if you've been watching this movie, but our budget is really low and we've got actors playing 10 people and this, that, and the other thing. George Clooney is just like, what about product placement? Which I don't know if I've talked about this before, like on here, but product placement is one of my favorite things ever because it's like so obvious.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes like a character will just be like holding a can of soda and the label is just like very perfectly like, I don't know. I love product placement. When I see it, I'm always like, product placement.
I like the opposite of when you're watching like a cooking show and it's very obviously like Trader Joe's brand or some shit, but they try to like make it so you can't tell that's what it is.
Right. Or they'll be like, instead of M&Ms, they'll be like candy coated chocolate or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty funny. So he's like, yeah, what about this? And they're like, okay, let's try it. So they start the movie again, and this guy walks into the pizza place, and immediately George Clooney,
The forgotten Clooney,
Yeah.
Jeff Clooney.
I feel like George Clooney has kind of like Jeff Goldblum energy in this movie to me, and so like I don't know. I just, not to say that I get them mixed up, but basically it's just like, oh, they basically do just like an ad for Pepsi.
Like the guy comes in with the biggest fake mustache of all time. And he's just like, man, I'm thirsty. And he's like, oh, you're thirsty? How'd you like this nice, cool, refreshing Pepsi? And then he's just like,
Pepsi.
He's like, oh yeah, but I am also kind of hungry. And I forget, he's like, oh really? You know what really?
It's a Crunch bar.
Yeah, he hands him a Crunch bar, and he's like, it really scrunched the crunch or some fucking weird shit like that. And then like,
Then he's
Crunch
like,
with every crunch, bro.
like it eventually
Yeah.
gets down to where he's like, oh yeah, like blah blah blah. How about this Crest toothpaste?
Well, it's like he goes from Pepsi to Crunch Bar, then it's like Moosehead and Foster's beer, and the guy doesn't even say anything, and he's just like, "How about a Crest?" And he holds up the toothpaste, and I was like, "What is happening?" So then, Chad comes in. He's like, he needs to talk to Matt about Tara.
It plays off in the best possible way, like later when they get on like the quad runners or whatever.
Oh my, that was my favorite. So Chad comes in to talk about Tara, about how, like, you know, she's a tomato person or whatever. And like as they're talking, somebody just like picks up a box of cornflakes and sits it directly in front of them. So like you can't even see them talking. It's pretty funny.
Costco-sized box of fucking cornflakes.
Yeah. And then I didn't really understand this part, but all of a sudden a colonel, some cowboys, and some ninjas come into the pizza place and they all start fighting.
Well, it's I think the guy that, like, because the one guy comes in like his army outfit, and the guy behind the counter is like, it's
Muammar
Muammar.
Gaddafi.
Yeah, I kept wanting to say Omar, and I was like, that's not right. But he's like, yeah, it's Gaddafi, and he attacks him, and then like, you know, I think that's supposed to be like the guy. I can't remember if it's the same actor, but it's the guy that's like the master of disguise guy from the first one. And then it's just like all of a sudden like ninjas jump in and fucking I think they're cowboys. And it's like a huge fight. And during this scene, like all I could think about was like the ninja scene in Velocipaster.
The thing that came to my mind was the scene from Anchorman where he's just like, well, that escalated quickly.
Like the best scene of Anchorman, the fight scene.
Yeah. Which, like, maybe that was a play off of it. I don't know. But basically, Chad is like, hey, like, this is enough, stop. And everyone leaves except the colonel, which actually is Sam from the first... I don't know if it's the same actor. Well, and the issue with this, too, is that, like, Sam, obviously, is not young. He's older. But everybody is a lot younger in this movie than their mugshot, than their picture on IMDb. So in the very beginning, I had a hard time like telling who people were supposed to be. But he was the master of disguise from the first one, and he is now with the Federal Vegetable Investigation, the FBI. And is basically like, hey, shit's going down.
When he's like, well, Muammar Gaddafi, just jumps over the counter, starts wailing on him. It's so stupid.
Yeah. Because, like, Wilbur really plays, like, a quintessential, like veteran with, like, PTSD, essentially, even though it was, like, a tomato situation. But, so Chad finally notices, like, Igor, that Igor's been following him. So he decides that he's gonna follow him now. And Igor goes to this construction site, and when he jumps out of his dump truck, he is wearing like a dress shirt with like a jacket with like a blazer and a tie and short shorts, and it was I don't know why, it made me laugh so hard. And he's basically there to get, you know, just some toxic waste that's just chilling at this construction
site. The fucking
site.
kid like fishing in it.
It gets like fish bones.
Yeah, he pulls out just like this long ass like thing of fish bones. I also like that he like puts on a glove and then just puts like a gallon water jug or like milk jug into it and just like pulls it out and just like looks around all like excited and then just leaves.
He really does. Like, it looks like you know, in the beginning of like news shows when the people just like turn and then like smile and freeze, like that's like what he was doing, and it was very funny. So he goes back to the doctor's house that has the lab in the basement, and Chad could see there's just like this huge hole in the wall, so he can see down into the basement, and he sees the doctor create the Ramados, essentially, just like a big Rambo guy. And then he comes home and he's like trying to tell Matt about like what's been happening, and Matt's just like very casually. Oh, he's also like drinking a Foster's and eating like a O. Henry's like chocolate bar or something.
And he's watching like
And
some like it's all like competitive like boating or some shit, but they're like fighting, like boats fighting each other or something. It's very strange.
yeah, it's like the Americans and the British or something. I don't know. There's like so many like sub
Yeah.
things going on in the background of this movie. Um, so he's like, I gotta go talk to Tara. Like, this is probably why she left the doctor. And he goes into the room and sees Tara eating the plant food sticks. And they both scream at each other. Like, they just like scream for a couple minutes. And then finally she runs out of the apartment and Igor gets her. So, this is when I wrote Chad finally realizes she's a tomato. I don't really know, like, if we were not supposed to have figured it out, but he's like really freaking out about it. And so then Matt and Chad, like after he yells at him a little bit, they decide that they're gonna go look for Tara. And this whole scene, I don't know, they like go back to the health food store and there's like a shit ton of tomatoes back there, and he's like, oh, we gotta find out which one's Tara. And he's like calling to her, and I missed like how this happened, but he found just like a random tomato that he thinks is her.
I think he just like guesses.
Yeah, I don't know. So then he goes back home.
Tomato's got some pretty strong Tara energy.
I mean, he thought so.
Yeah.
He's like, what are we supposed to do? Look at their stems? Little tomato humor. So Matt goes back home and he's like watching this like Frankenstein movie, but the movie is like talking to him. He's like, yes, here in my lab where I brought my creation to life, you know, in my laboratory,
in my mansion.
And he just like keeps saying it over and over again. And then Chad's like, oh, we should go to Dr. Gangrene's house and use the lab to turn her back into a human. And it after like a couple minutes. So I think that I skipped the part that you were talking about on the whole thing. But basically, Chad and Matt are gonna go but they get on their four-wheelers and they do like a commercial pitch, and I didn't write it down, but it's really funny. He's just like, we'll use our
like Chad's just like, all right, well, I'm gonna take my quad runner, and Matt's just like, your quad runner from so and so with the best prices and blah blah blah, like whatever. And then Chad like just looks over and he's like, do we have enough money to get this fucking turkey done or not? And then like the rest of the crew's just like wearing tuxedos and like covered in like women and stuff. They're like, yeah, I think we're good. You guys can go along.
Or he says something just like, whatever, I don't care, or something like that. But the quad runner was the best though, because he was just like, well, I'll take my quad runner. He's like, I will also take my quad runner from San Diego Motors.
Yeah, blatantly just like a local place.
I also like they like sneak in Pepsi logos like a lot too. Like there's this one scene where the doctor is like talking on the phone and he like turns around and there's like a Pepsi logo on the back of his lab coat, and then there's like a sign in front of his house. It's pretty funny. So Chad and Matt go to the house and they find the laboratory, and so they're trying to like turn that tomato back into Tara. So they keep trying like the machine, and it keeps turning them into just like random people like the Pope and Michael Jackson. And before they can figure it out, like the doctor and Igor show up, and the doctor basically just like crushes the tomato that they had, and he is sad because he thinks it was Tara. But yeah. So Matt and Chad get thrown into a dungeon, but Tara's there, so it's fine. And he's like, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you. I thought you were ketchup." And then they like hug and shit. FT somehow finds them, and they're like, okay, we need to send him to Uncle Wilbur to save us. And they're like, okay, but Wilbur's like not gonna be able to understand him. He's like, okay, let's write a note, but we don't have any paper. And then George Clooney is like, why don't we use a piece of paper from my script? And so they use the script. So FT like takes the note back to Wilbur. Wilbur reads it. There's a bunch of jokes in that scene too, but he basically calls Sam, who is the master of disguise, and the scuba guy from the first one for backup. And then basically like the doctor is just talking about how they can make the tomatoes resemble anyone they want, like they can make him the president or like the chief of police, and he's basically just like alluding to he's going to replace like all the top people with tomato people. And he like locks Chad and Matt up in the tomato machine, and then they're going to go to the jail to like break out the guy from earlier who is important. So Wilbur, Sam, and the scuba guy like show up at the doctor's house. There's a bunch of shenanigans that happen with them trying to find like where the lab is, or like where everyone's like locked up or whatever. Including one that is, I think it might be Sam opens up a door that says China cabinet.
It's just the
which,
Great Wall of China.
Right. So that was pretty funny. And he's just like, what? Oh, and by the way, Sam shows up dressed as the Lone Ranger this time. For whatever reason. But he has like this really tiny mask on his face. It's pretty funny. And Wilbur, like in the first movie, he was like he was like wearing a parachute outfit, and literally his parachute was just out and trailing behind him the whole time. And so like he does that bit again now, which is pretty funny. Yeah, they go to the prison. Oh wait. So they eventually, like there's a bunch of shenanigans that happens here, but they eventually break Matt and Chad out of the tomato machine, and they go to the prison also on their four-wheelers from San Diego dealership or whatever. So the doctor and Igor and everybody is like at the jail, and he makes a bunch of ramados. And then when the whole group gets there, they basically just like face off against each other. And somehow the group just like kills all the ramados, and they literally like, I think it's FT like turns the lights off, and then when he turns it back on, there's just like tomato guts everywhere. And so like the doctor and Igor and all of them like run away, and they chase after them, and the doctor has put Tara in a gas chamber, which like I didn't realize prisons just had like a gas chamber.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure they don't now.
Yeah,
but
there were like some probably around this time that did like executions that way.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I guess I just didn't think. I don't know. Wild.
Look, America is the best country on earth for a reason.
I guess
Totally normal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's got her in the gas chamber, and so the doctor is basically just like giving his like final speech or whatever, and the phone in the room starts ringing, and it like rings and rings and rings, and finally the doctor picks up the phone and it's just like, what? And it's the host from the beginning calling to ask if the doctor knows the secret word. And the doctor's just like, no, I don't know what the secret word is. And he's like, what? And he's like, I don't know what and then he's like, he said the secret word. And then there's like music and confetti and like a bunch of shit. And I think one of them, Chad, is basically just like, see, we wrapped up everything from the beginning of the movie or something like that, which is pretty funny. So I guess I also like didn't really expect them to like break the fourth wall in this movie, because I guess I just didn't really know if that was a thing at this point.
Well, I mean, technically they do it earlier when they do the product placement thing, like
right.
like the one.
Well, I just meant in general.
Oh yeah, the guy from the Screen Actors Guild comes in and like says they have to pay everybody in that scene.
Oh, everyone who talks.
Yeah.
You should
director's
pay
like,
me
"Oh,
too, because I'm on
yeah.
screen right now.
Nobody say anything, okay?
Okay.
So basically, like Igor, so it kind of just like confuses everyone because there's like confetti and music and stuff. And Igor had a hand grenade earlier, and he drops it, and everyone's like, the grenade, and FT jumps on top of the grenade and like dampens the blow or whatever. And Tara gets gassed because they can't open the door. Then I don't know. I just wrote Tara gets gassed, but she's fine because she's a tomato. But then we find out that the gas made it so that she can't actually turn into a tomato again, even though she's a tomato person.
Yeah, it's called science.
And then I think the doctor and Igor get arrested? ? They just like, I looked down, and when I looked back up, they just like weren't there anymore. But guess what? FT is fine too. Because he's a tomato, so he can't get blown up by a grenade, I guess.
Also
And the
science.
press rush in, right? But you do have like a couple moments of thinking that Tara and FT are both dead, which would have been pretty sad. The press rush in to like interview everybody about like what's happening, and then there's like a celebration in the town, and we get the best shot of FT wearing like sunglasses and a hat. And there's like this little girl that's just like, Daddy, he's so cute. Can I please have an FT stuffed animal? And then he's just like, sure. And he's like, make sure that you buy your kids this stuffed animal because it's almost Christmas time, and ask here and ask there. And I did actually Google to see if they were real because I really want one.
Same.
But I couldn't really find any that looked actually like him. Like there was a few that were just like puffballs with glasses and stuff that were really expensive. So I don't know. And then there's a scene of Matt on the beach, and he has gone back to the lab and made a bunch of babes out of his tomatoes. So he's at a babe party. And then you get a scene of some Rambo carrots, and then it's the end.
The rainbow carrots are so good.
Yeah.
Love them. Because like I love how they just always show up at the end, but then they're like not actually like the villains of the next movie.
They're always just there lurking in the background.
That's right. And that is the end.
Oh, this movie rules so much.
It was pretty funny.
All right. Do you have a Zach Baggins tweet?
I do. He says, another good thing with all this mask wearing is that you're not having to smell people's stanky breath anymore.
Oh, no. Terrible.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Weekly World News, woman gives birth to a spatula. Which reminds me of when Mark Henry and
Mae Young give birth to the hand.
I don't know
A
which
classic
is
wrestling
worse.
moment.
Oh god, that was so weird.
The hand was covered in so much jelly or some shit. It was really gross.
Did you see the story?
Also, Mae Young was like 80.
Yeah. Did you see the story about apparently when they did the storyline of Vince McMahon getting blown up, that like Donald Trump called him in real life to make sure he was okay?
Are you okay?
Oh my god.
Oh, I hate everything so much.
What an idiot.
All right, Katie, do you have some news that will no longer be relevant in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I do have some news. I know, I was thinking like by the time this comes out, everyone's seen the news already. The first thing I saw is that all of the stories from Stephen King's last book of short stories are optioned for adaptations already. Which, like I said, there's only 4. There's one I actually liked. I realized I was like, yeah, I got this book. I'll tell you guys what I felt about it, and then I never did. It's 4 stories. I really liked 3 out of the 4. The 4th one was based off of like an extension of The Outsider, which I hated. I did not like it at all, so I don't really care about that one. One of them is being developed by Blumhouse and Ryan Murphy, so probably won't be the best. But then one of the stories I saw, Ben Stiller is being optioned for the lead character. So that could
I thought
be kind
he
of
got like
interesting.
straight up got the rights to like make what Rat or whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know. The first article, whenever I wrote this down, the first article that had came out was that he was going to star in it. I don't know anything really beyond that. But by the time this comes out, the Kickstarter for Carousel 2 will be up.
Yes.
So I'm sure we'll retweet links and stuff like that when it's actually available. So I highly recommend everybody kickstarts it. I think one of the hashtags they've been using is "this tall to die," which I think is so funny. Then everyone, I'm sure, has already seen this by now, so they'll definitely have seen it in 2 weeks. But Scream Factory is releasing that Friday the 13th set.
Yeah, I'll buy that shit.
That's like
Friday when I get paid.
16 like discs or something. But then they also are releasing this Pumpkinhead steel box that looks so amazing, and I want it. It's like the artwork on it is like so beautiful.
There's
I like his lightning eyes.
their steel books always look amazing. They did a pop star one that I really wanted. That looked amazing.
I need to get the humanoids from the deep one.
Yeah, that one looks really good too.
I haven't seen that one yet.
The pop star one's funny because it's the artwork for it is from a scene that is not shown in the movie. It's like they're talking and the screen goes black, like the main character is just like, hey, can you guys turn the cameras off for a minute? And then they get attacked by giant bees and fight them off with flamethrowers.
Oh, I have seen
So
that.
they made that the artwork for it. So it's like artwork from a scene that's not even technically showed in the movie.
I saw that because like when I was looking for that shirt I got you, they had that, and I was like very confused. I was like, why is that the art for it? I mean, I don't know.
They get done, and they're like, please tell us like you got that. The cameraman's like, no, you told us to turn the cameras off. They're like, fuck.
Wow. I just looked up the humanoids from the deep. That looks amazing. Who does this art? This person is like a master.
I have no idea, but it's all very good.
I love it. My last news is that Nathan and I were going to talk shit on whoever the listener was supposed to remind us when we were supposed to do Shark Week, and they didn't remind us. But it's okay because Shark Week is actually August. So August 9th, it kicks off. And have you guys seen anything about what the main event is going to be?
I do not. Santa Jaws?
No. It is called Tyson versus Jaws, Rumble on the Reef. So Mike Tyson is going to fight a shark, ?
Mike Tyson's going to sexually assault a 18-year-old shark.
I don't...
It would rule if he got murdered by the shark, though.
They just did like a live event where he got eaten by a shark.
I mean, you can see a trailer for it on Shark Week's like official Twitter, which I think is just like literally Shark Week. But at the end of it, Mike Tyson says something like, someone's gonna get bit or something like that. And I was like,
Christ.
What is this? Please tell me he's like not. So obviously it's a gimmick.
Sharks don't have ears.
Well, he's gonna bite their fins off. I don't really know what it entails, but I just thought that was like ridiculous. So I thought I would just add that in there.
Hard pass.
Unless Tyson dies.
Yes.
Then I'll watch.
We'll see. Stay tuned, I guess.
All right, you guys got shout outs?
Silence.
You go first.
I'll go. I'll say I've been reading a book called Exhalation by Ted Chiang, and it's super good. Like a collection of 9 or so short stories, I think. About halfway through, and it rules. If you like sci-fi and robots and feeling bad about humans, recommended.
Hell yeah.
I thought you were going to say sci-fi and bee-boops.
Close.
I'm going to shout out, I watched The Beach House on Shudder. And I actually really liked it. I feel like I don't normally, I don't know. I thought it was like really good. And then I listened to an episode of this podcast called Scared for Life, where like I think the premise of it is that like they get guests to come on to talk about like movies that scared them as children. And so they had the director of The Beach House, whose name is Jeff Brown, on to talk about Pet Sematary. But the first half of it is basically them talking to him about the movie and kind of like hearing his insights and like where the movie like sort of came from. I thought really added a lot to the movie for me, like having listened to the podcast after I saw the movie. And the movie has this scene in it that will really go on my top of like grossest scenes ever. So like I said, that's on Shudder, so everyone should go watch that. And I watched Palm Springs yesterday.
Don't say anything. I'm going to see it at the drive-in tomorrow.
The only thing I'm going to say is that I can't wait for you to watch the very beginning of it on a big screen.
So there's a dick.
No. Maybe. No. I didn't know what the movie. Do you know what the movie's
I have
about?
not looked anything into it. We decided like a while ago we were gonna go see it, and it's playing with Black Panther, so we're just gonna go to that tomorrow.
So I didn't know what it was about either, and I am glad that I didn't, because then once you start, it's really good. It's really good. So I look forward to talking about it afterwards. But if people don't know, Palm Springs is the new Andy Samberg movie, and it's streaming on Hulu right now. So I recommend those two and that podcast.
All right, I have a couple. Jordan, one of the co-hosts from Knowledge Fight, wrote a book that you can go to find him on Twitter at GoToBedJordan. Book's called The Quiet Part Loud. The description is a book about the beginning, some of the middle, but mostly the end of the world, and then also the beginning of the world. I don't know what it's about, but Jordan is super funny, and I believe it's pay what you want. So if you just go, like it's his pinned tweet, I think it's just you click the link, you can like donate some money to it or whatever, or you can just download it for free. But I plan on reading that soon. I was also have been listening to I shouted them out before, but they've kind of changed formats and the name of their podcast. But there was a podcast called The Importance of Seeing Ernest that went through all of the Ernest related movies and the TV show and stuff. That through the process of that, they got to know one of the guys that helped write and like produce a bunch of those movies, who gave them binders of all of the unused script and movie ideas for Ernest movies. So they have like,
oh my god,
they have
Wow.
all of these fucking like, some of them are just like a page like idea, some of them are like, you know, sort of kind of first draft scripts, but they're doing episodes on that now. It's called the Ernest P. Worrell Preservation Society, and it's really fucking interesting. I don't know when they'll get to it, but one of them is there was like something called like Hot Fast Ernest or some shit like that, and I was like, I need to know what this movie's about. And I was DMing with the host because I was like, in my mind he's like working at like Subway, but apparently he's just like a pizza delivery guy. It's just like the most ridiculous, like easy idea. But I know they talk about in one of the episodes of like the previous version of the podcast about how like at some point they wrote this like dark fucking earnest script. Because I guess they had like a deal with Disney at the time that they just had to keep like pitching movie ideas as part of their like overall deal. So they would just come up with ideas, and one of them was like, I think it was called like Ernest Goes West, where Ernest went to Hollywood, ended up like contracting AIDS and dying. And so like, it's fucking so weird, but they're like, yeah, they're slowly going through a bunch of stuff, like all like just these binders of movies and talking about like one, maybe two, like two of the ideas per episode, and it's really fucking funny. And then my last one is this old, like weird screamo kind of grind band. An Albatross came back and released a new single called Return of the Lazer Viking that is really good. It's on Bandcamp, and you should listen to that.
I've definitely heard of that band.
Yeah, they've been around for like 21 years, but they haven't been active for like a decade, and they just like surprised everybody with this like just posting this new stuff on Bandcamp, so that's cool. All right, what do we do next week, Katie, for your pick?
Oh man.
Earth versus the Spider.
Earth Girls Are Easy.
Does that count as?
I mean,
I don't know.
It's got aliens in it.
I know. I feel like yeah. Let's do 1997's Anaconda.
Oh shit!
Hell yeah!
What is that on?
It's on Prime.
I have not seen that movie since it came out. I'm so excited.
So my original plan was that I wanted to do the House on Haunted Hill remake because I have a lot of history with it, and I think it's a really good movie, and but it's not streaming anywhere. So then I just like kind of compiled. I was gonna do Stir of Echoes because you guys said that you hadn't seen it, but I don't know. I want to do something like Stir of Echoes is a pretty straight up like ghost movie. So like if we did another sort of thing like this where we did a movie we liked, I probably would pick that. But then last night when I was looking for a movie to watch, I saw Anaconda was streaming, and I was like, oh my gosh. When it came out, it was one of my favorite movies, and I haven't seen it in a really long time. So
I saw it in the theaters, and like I don't think I've seen it since.
I can't remember when I actually saw it, and it's like pretty funny that it's like one of what I remember to be one of my favorites because like I really hate snakes, and the idea of like being in water with an anaconda is like the scariest thing ever. But I don't know, just wanted to jazz it up a little bit.
We could talk about how John Voight's a massive piece of shit, so that'll be fun.
I'm always down for that.
Okay.
All right, yeah. So Anaconda on Prime with J-Lo and Ice Cube and Sir Mix-a-Lot.
You know it. I'm so excited.
All right, so we are still doing a contest to win a free shirt and some other bullshit, including some stickers we just sort of unveiled on Twitter and Instagram.
That we've had, but just didn't release.
Yeah. Go leave us an iTunes review, send us a screenshot to our email at ihopeyousufferpodcast@gmail.com. Put 100 episode giveaway in the subject line so I actually remember to look at it.
Are you going to say put $100 in there?
Yes, we need $100 to
that helps
our
too.
PayPal.
We need $100 to make FT hats.
Yes. Katie and I immediately were already scheming up an idea how to do a FT hat that looks like the Pepsi Cola one.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, because I was like, I can't wait to talk about this because for like the longest time, like I've had the idea to get a tattoo of FT on my knee forever.
I love it so much.
And then like everything shut down, and so once I feel like I am not gonna die to go to a tattoo parlor or whatever, I think I'm gonna go get that done.
Couple of years.
Hell yes.
But yeah, I was like, can we please make hats with just FT wearing the fucking Pepsi hat on it. Yeah, so leave us an iTunes review, then email us, all that shit. Follow us on Twitter at IPSuffer, and Instagram at IPSuffer Podcast. Listen to me and Kit's other podcasts that we haven't really made episodes for in forever. Follow Katie at Werewolf.
Wait, what?
Kit and I both have podcasts that we've done like no episodes for in months.
Oh, it sounded like you were saying like me and Kit have a podcast that we haven't
just
made
didn't tell you
episodes
about it.
for, and I was like, what is it?
Yeah, it's top secret.
Oh man.
It's just a podcast where we just talk about your crazy food habits.
Weird pizzas.
Can I guest on it?
No.
Okay. You don't want me to noodle my way in on that one?
Our next guest is Zach Baggins. So.
That's okay. I'll have Snoop Dogg. I'll have David Arquette on mine.
Well, none of these people will ever
We're
answer
best
us.
friends
So
now.
Orange Cassidy
Yes, they
be on the podcast. Yeah, do all that stuff. I don't know. Watch Anaconda. I hope you suffer, but why?
Killer tomato.
Oh.
The best I got.
The best theme song of all time.